Good morning, Claremont Center for Spiritual Living. How are you this morning? I'm Reverend Tracy Earlywine, and just delighted to welcome you to our online gathering, this virtual space where we come together in consciousness. We come together to remember the truth of who we are, the truth about life, and to learn and discuss and become new ways of living our highest and best. Because when we each do that, we are part of a world that works for everyone. And isn't that what we all want in our own hearts? And so welcome today, wherever you are on your spiritual path. You are welcome here with us. I want to remind you that our practitioners are here to support you always and in all ways. If you would like a little extra support, maybe to celebrate something wonderful happening, just to affirm the truth in a difficult situation, they are pleased to serve you. So do take advantage. Do reach out to them and let them be of support to you. You'll find their contact information on our website or in your weekly e-blast. They would love to hear from you. I also want to let you know that this morning we don't have our usual practitioner. Pat is home on the couch nursing an injured knee, so she is surrounded by ice packs and blankets and cats, so she should be better in no time. But because she is not here, I will be leading us in prayer and doing a reading to get us started. So if you will, take that deep breath and let's get centered. I invite you to let the sound of the bowl take you into your heart space. As you breathe and listen, find your way into the center of your being where light and love and peace reside. For it is here in the center that you and I and Spirit are one. And simply allowing our attention to turn to that place in us, as us, that is the divine expressing. That very energy of life which courses through our veins, that energy that we recognize in the eyes of another, that space that we are, where life expresses, where we become alive in our personalities, in our desires, in our dreams. This is where our power lies, this very power of life that is the truth of who we are. And it is from this place that we recognize that God is all around and through all. That there is no place in our life where we are separate from our spiritual nature. That the power of the divine is in expression everywhere in all things. And so I speak a word of gratitude, a word of blessing. I acknowledge the trust and the faith that I have with which to move through life. For in my grateful heart, I know that all things are given freely, that good is the truth of life, and that I am a part of that good. And so are you. And it is from this place of the grateful heart that I release my word into law, blessing this time we have together, knowing that it is all God, it is Spirit inspired, and that we are brought together in love and community and oneness, for that is the nature of life. And so it is. My reading today is from this month's Guide for Spiritual Living, The Science of Mind magazine, March 2021. And it's from an article by Reverend Jeffrey Ryan at the Riverside Center for Spiritual Living on visioning. He has a quote from Ernest Holmes that says, "We are taking, I trust, a vision, something beyond a hope and a longing, that the living Spirit shall through us walk anew into its own creation, and a new glory come with the dawn." And Reverend Jeffrey writes, "Embrace, embody, become." He's speaking of the visioning process. When we consciously use the creative process, we embrace a new thought or a new idea, planting it in the creative medium, assured of its demonstration by our embodiment of it. Instead of using the creative process to demonstrate changed conditions, visioning uses the creative process to embrace a new way of being, the embodiment of which results in personal transformation. Embracing is an act of receptivity. We cannot experience what we're unwilling to receive. In asking, "What must I embrace?" we are asking, "What ideas am I receptive to? What possibilities and growth opportunities do I welcome?" Embracing an idea is opening in consciousness. Embodying is an act of demonstration. To embody something is to go beyond intellectual knowledge and even heartfelt understanding. Embodiment means that we have so assimilated an idea in our consciousness that it has taken form. It's knowing that we know that we know. When we ask in visioning, "What must I embody?" we're asking, "What must I know so deeply that it takes form as me?" And becoming is an act of allowing. It's allowing that which you already are to come forth. When we ask in visioning, "What must I become?" we're asking, what divine quality or qualities am I being called to remember as my truth? Being the truth itself, we can then come to the vision because we are in complete alignment with it. We must first be, and then we may come. The vision pulls us to it. Embracing is an act of receptivity. Embodying is an act of demonstration. And becoming is an act of allowing. So my title this morning is Open Your Eyes, Surprise! Now, I know there are some of you out there that when I say surprise party, if you're like me, you get all excited. Because it's a sense of, wow, I didn't even know it was happening, and isn't this great? Everybody went to so much trouble to pull this together, and all of this is for me, and there are going to be presents. And it's a sense of expectation and excitement and joy. For other people, the idea of a surprise party is cringeworthy. I don't like to be surprised. I don't want to be startled. I don't want to find out later that I didn't know what was going on. Right? There's a sense of lack or loss of control, which is not comfortable. And it may be hard to see that it was meant to be something great when there's something in your head that says you should have known. You should have figured it out. Why didn't you see it? You know, the meaning of that party comes from our own perspective. It's always coming from our own perspective. Now, Thoreau says, it's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see. I see the surprise as something wonderful. You may see the surprise as something dangerous because it's unexpected. But you know, if we are meant for a joyous and abundant life, which we are, how are we supposed to shift our perspective or our emotional response, or how are we to welcome the surprises that life gives us, because life is always saying surprise? What are we supposed to do with that? How do we do that? Ernest Holmes tells us that we are to see rightly. And what he means by that is not fumbling all around looking for our glasses, unable to see on the human level, but instead to put on our spiritual lenses, our spiritual prescription that brings everything into sharp focus, allowing us to see both the near and the far. All we have to do to shift our experience is to appreciate things from a different perspective. Open our spiritual eyes, which is sometimes stated as surrender to an idea, surrender to spirit, surrender to this sense of God in all as all. Now, not surrender like give in or give up, right? We're not talking about waving the right flag. What we're talking about is giving way to a faith that says, what is invisible becomes visible, and I can trust that in me, in my life, in the world, because of my chosen perspective, my chosen foundation of where I live from. That inner place we were talking about in the meditation of peace and light and love that lives within, no matter what's going on outside. So I have an example of this. Harry Scahill called me yesterday or the day before just to talk about some things, and there were several things up in his life, and he said, I have to tell you a story. He said, so all this stuff is going on, and I'm figuring this out, and we're doing that, and shots and COVID and visiting, and Mike, his son, had a problem with his flip phone. And for Harry on that particular day, that was just one thing too many. It's like, you know what, God? You do the flip phone. I got nothing. I have no idea. I don't know what to do. I can't do this too. It's all yours. In effect, turning it over to the flow of life for something to happen with an expectation that that flow of life will bring about possibilities of good. Because if you know Harry, you know that's pretty much how he lives, right? This idea of surrender, Judith Orloff says, surrender is a state of living in the flow, trusting what is, and being open to surprises. Trusting what is. What is true, is that there is a way forward, even for flip phones, and that Harry had every expectation that that would make itself known in a way that was right for him, that was right for Mike. So the next day in the mail, not one but 2 offers for free flip phones showed up. Not only that, but the actual problem was the charging cord, which was easily replaced and no new phone was required. When we surrender into the faith of all good things happen because all things are God, then infinite number of possibilities are available to us if our eyes are open, if our spiritual perspective is at the ready to see it, to catch that vision. That whole scenario was activated by Harry consciously putting himself in alignment with the idea that the flow of life will show me the way. That inner guidance is available to me. Prayer does that. Praying, according to Rinpoche, is just opening your eyes to see what was there all along. And what was there all along was a way forward, was a resolution, was an uplifting. No effort, no struggle, just done. So that spiritual vision, the opening your perspective wider, is about looking beyond appearances, about not getting stuck in the problem, not keeping your eyes down, but looking up and out. So the process of visioning, which we read about in the reading, is a form of prayer that is listening. It's placing yourself in your own sense of the greater presence, the oneness of life, sensing the spiritual knowing that we swim in, and opening yourself up to the answers to questions of what must I become? What am I to embody? What is here for me? What is this purpose? What am I called to? And listening. It's a way of aligning ourselves with a greater truth. It's a way of embodying the process, the creative process which says, I am an instrument of what shows up in this world, in my world, as me, through me. It's an opportunity for us to place ourselves as ready to receive. You know, I have a friend who doesn't like surprise parties. She doesn't like any party because she's uncomfortable receiving gifts from anyone. We have to be able to receive in order to experience the gifts of life. Just as we do with each other, it's an exchange of love in physical form, and giving only or receiving only puts us out of balance. In spirit, there's always balance. There's always a sense of being in this exchange of energy, being in this dance of the human and the divine, of bringing our spiritual perspective into our everyday life. So last night, Pat and I watched the movie Harriet, about Harriet Tubman. And Harriet, because of a head injury, she experienced visions in her life. She would see what was going to happen. She called it talking to God. She saw it as God speaking to her. It was very much a receptive act. It would sort of come upon her, and she would listen and then go do. So to her, God would speak, and she would go. And she went back to get her husband out of slavery after she herself had run away. He didn't run with her. She went back to get him, and he wasn't going to run. She found him. She talked to him. He'd remarried. He thought she was dead. She says to herself, I thought I was here to bring him home. I thought that's what God told me to do. And instead, what happened is she brought back 7 other people, her brothers and other members of the community, a woman with a small baby. She said, I thought I came for one reason, but what was really true is I'm here for these people. And that became her mission in life, was to continue to bring people to freedom. You know, the universe throws those surprises at us all the time, right? We think we're being called to one thing, and when we get there, it looks totally different. Or we thought we were going to grow up and become a doctor, and somewhere along the way, we were working in a restaurant, and we ended up being a world-class chef. If you watch the Food Network, there's all kinds of stories like that around. The key is to realize that the outcome may be unexpected, but the good is still received. We're still receiving what the blessing is of life. And life continues to say, surprise! 2020 was a big old surprise all over the place. You know, and we're finally getting to a point in our culture, in this whole unfolding of the pandemic and the cycle of events, shall we say, that we've been going through. And I am feeling called to move forward in new ways, to sort of ride the energy of, oh my gosh, things are finally, actually, I can see it changing. Not the way I expected. This is the 1-year anniversary of the last time we were together in the sanctuary. Actually, I think it was the 22nd, but we were talking about it this week, and many of you weren't in church that day because we knew there was a pandemic. And so we can't expect everything. We can't wait until we know what's going to happen before we move forward. No, we're called to move, called to live, called to express right here, right now, and in the next right now, and in the next right now, and know that it's good. And know that it is life expressing as it is, and that's okay. Ernest Holmes reminds us that we are to remain open at the top. And when I was working, I'm working with the word open all month, right? The theme for the month is we're open. What does that mean? One of the definitions for open is not brought to a conclusion, subject to further thought. Well, it seems to me that in order to live our best life, we must live it openly. We must know that there is no one conclusion in life that stays the same. We are all evolving and growing and becoming and thriving and discovering and becoming more creative and trying new things. And even when we feel locked down or shut in or closed off, we are still blossoming, just not in an expected way. And so this staying open and available to what life offers, even when it's a surprise, is how we engage from the heart, with our mind, and with our spirit, from our souls. We're called to be alive and participate in our own evolution, in our own transformation. We're called to open our eyes wide that we might see the light and use it. The light of understanding, which brings us that full picture, that vista, that allows us to make better choices, that allows us to live more fully. We're called to surrender to the idea that we are always walking in faith. Rajneesh says, surrender gives you the eyes, and everything that is brought to these eyes becomes divine. And isn't that what our spiritual practice is all about? To be able to see the God in everything, to be able to know the divine heart of life, no matter what form it takes. And we align ourselves with our prayer work, that moment where we choose to go within, to align ourselves with a greater truth. Our main quote today is from Mark Batterson, and he wrote, "Prayer adds an element of surprise to your life that is more fun than a surprise party, or a surprise gift, or a surprise romance. In fact, prayer turns life into a party, a gift, a romance." You see, this life, it's all for you. Namaste. And if you will, please join me in a moment of prayer. Taking that deep breath and centering in that heart space, that place of oneness, that place of knowing, that higher self, capital S, that higher self which lives within us as us. Bringing our awareness to this heart space and resting here for a moment. And remembering that there is only one life. That life is God, that life is good, that life is my life now. that this power of life that we are seeks ever greater ways of expression through and as each one of us. What I see, what I know, what I understand with my spiritual insight creates the path that allows me to walk in the world as a spiritual being, bringing love, bringing joy, bringing the peace that comes from within and expressing it out in the world. And as I do that, I see and recognize it in everyone. For there is only spirit. There is only a life that is life-giving. There is only a love that heals. These are the expressions of power in life. And all other things, all that which seems to be not like love, not like peace, not like joy, will fall away in the spiritual light of truth. And so I speak a word for bringing truth, for keeping my awareness, my eye on the light of spirit, for moving and expressing and creating from this center of love that is the truth of me within, and praising and blessing it in everyone I meet. For in my appreciation and gratitude, I water and fertilize the flowers of life that are ready to bloom. I see and know the beauty in everyone I meet. And I simply allow life to be as it is, expected and unexpected. For I know that it is good, and my good comes from sources expected and unexpected, in surprising ways, in ways I cannot even imagine in my human experience, but which my spiritual lenses show me. And as it's true for me, it's true for us all. That together we walk in spirit, we do so with the vista spread out before us, simply awaiting our arrival. Here we are, in God, as God, all good, and so it is. I have an affirmation for you today, so if you will, repeat each phrase after me. Today I accept life's gifts with eyes wide open. I am aligned with the greater good in all things. And so it is. All right. Okay, so let's see what we've got going on this week. I want to remind you that Easter Sunday we will have service in our parking lot. So what I encourage you to do is bring your chairs, wear your Easter hats. We'll meet outdoors. You've got to bring your mask. But we'll have a chance to see and wave and be in each other's company in a safe way and celebrate Easter. We'll have more details for you as we go along, but it will be 10:30 on Easter Sunday morning, so be ready for that. I want you to know also that your new board, we are discussing how and when we might return to our sanctuary. We are getting closer, and as I've said in the past, we want to be sure that even though we will begin meeting in person once again, we will continue to post online for those who cannot or are unable to attend. So once everything is in place, and health department's all good, we will be meeting once again on our campus. Part of what that means too is we will have opportunities for some of you to help us get ready. Bobby has been taking care of the property, but as you can imagine, I can't say we've asked him to dust in every corner. So if you would like to be part of what prepares our sanctuary for our homecoming, do let us know. You can talk to Andy in the office or shoot us an email or send me a text, and we'll get all of that set up in advance. And like I said, I don't know exactly when yet, but it's coming and I'm excited. I'm sure you are too. I also want to remind you that between now and Easter, we have a fundraiser called a Yum Raiser with C's Candy. If you go on our Facebook page or check your e-blast, there's a link that goes out to the C's Candy website, and you can order goodies for family, friends, and of course yourself. You have your favorites, right? So order from C's. That all gets shipped. There's a no contact required. It'll all get shipped out to wherever you want it to go. And it is a fundraiser for the center. So, you know, it's probably been a while since you had your very own box of chocolates. I know I'm already scanning the menu to see what's out there. So do take advantage of that. It's a great way to support the community and eat something wonderful as well. I think that's it. Of course, you know, Wednesday night we have our meditation at 6:15 and Gateway at 7 via Zoom. Check your e-blast for the details on our topics. And, you know, until then, just know I'm so looking forward to seeing you in person. And I will see you here next week online. You are loved.